me talking at you for 15 minutes, is go through the application form, and then I thought you can all ask questions as we go. So if you can either raise your hand or put a question in the chat as we go through each question. I thought that would just be a bit more helpful for you all, rather than, as I said, just talking at you. So if everybody's okay with that, we'll just go through the application. Top of the next page, I think it is. Yeah, it's just up here. So the first thing to say is about the senior representative endorsing it. So you do need somebody within your organisation in a sort of senior management role. So it's just a bit of a warning, really, to get this sorted before you have to submit the application, because I know I've certainly been scrabbling around trying to get people to sign things back in the days when you could see people in person. We do accept electronic signatures as well, so which does make things easier, and also emails if you need something signed. You can't get anything signed or a signature, then we do accept emails from just in support to say that they are broadly endorsing it. There's just a question from Steve, how senior? That's really up to you. It depends which organisation it is. I'm guessing it would be maybe sort of chief officer level within a local authority. I don't think it has to be chief exec level. Gareth, have you got any comments on that one?
No, I think what you've said is right, Liz. I think it's what we want to see is that senior level endorsement. So that could be chief officer, it could be chief exec. You know, it depends on your organisation. I think what we want to know is really, I guess, what the assessors want to know, and the board will want to know is, has your challenge got senior enough buy-in to what you're trying to achieve, that it stands the best possible chance of resulting in a kind of successful outcome, i.e., seeing the project right the way through. I've seen on previous SBRIs where you don't get that level of top level buy-in, where sort of middle management are kind of constantly trying to sort of sell the benefits upwards. So I think getting that early on is the priority. So we're not going to be prescriptive on who that has to be, but I think it's just reassuring to see that senior level support.
Thank you, Gareth. Okay, and also on this page is the challenge title. So I did mention in my presentation about having the sort of snappy one-liner, which is for this bit really. So as I said, can you sum up your challenge? What do you want to do in 20 words maximum? So that's something that we can use when we're if we're doing any publicity or anything about putting things on websites and that kind of thing. What actually is your challenge? What are you looking to do? And just a tip before we sort of go into all the questions, which, as I said, I prefer it if you sort of ask questions as we go, so we can make it really interactive and specific to what you need help with. But just a tip before we start. So you'll see that there are several bullet points under each question. What I would do when I submit bids is I copy those bullet points into the answer box, into the text box, and then make sure that I've answered each question, each bullet point. I think that's really important because they are in there for a reason. We do want you to address each point. So yeah, if you cut and paste them in, answer them, whether you keep them in then or take them out, it's up to you, and whether you bullet point your answers or whether you just leave it as sort of a plain text. What I will say is bullet points are a lot easier for people to read. It just makes it more succinct. And I think you're less likely to lose people's interest when they're assessing the application. So that's just a tip, a general tip for all the answers really. Okay, so for question one, obviously this is the biggie really. So this is 1,000 words. It's quite a chunky question. So this is, what is your challenge about? Have you looked at any attempts to solve the problem that you've identified before? What is the scale of the problem? So if you can include, as I said previously in my presentation, statistics, evidence, if it's anecdotal, any costs involved. The finances, so these can be actual, or sometimes you'll have to just estimate them. Again, you can use examples of previous experience or other organisations who've had similar problems and what it might have cost to them. Again, and whether the challenge is shared by other organisations in the region, that is a really important one. And that's one of the reasons why we're having workshops and breakout groups within those thematic workshops, is for organisations to discuss the issue with other people and see whether it's worth putting together a joint bid, or, as I mentioned previously, you could have a challenge with several different strands to it, all on the same sort of thematic area. Are there any questions on this one? As I said, this is a bit of a chunky one, so this is important because, as I said, it's what is your challenge? What do you want to do? Why is it important? Why does it matter to people? Any questions on this one? I'll just give you a minute, but if not, then we'll go on to the next one. No? Okay, if we go on to question 2, please, Carla. Oh, that's better. I can see that a bit better on my small screen. Thank you. So question 2, describe what a successful outcome would look like. This would be desirable or realistic improvements against the baseline, not possible solutions. And that's 250 words. I think the key thing here is, which I really want to stress, is this is not where you say what you think the solution is, because if you think you have a solution, then the Challenge Fund isn't for you, because we're looking for problems that currently don't have solutions, or not workable solutions anyway. So yeah, so basically what you want the outcome of the challenge to be, without saying how you're going to get there. Also, who will benefit, how will they benefit, and obviously measuring these benefits. Savings as well, which is obviously a biggie for the public sector. So can you attach a monetary value? You know, if you solve this problem, you estimate that your organisation will save X £100,000 or £1 million over so many years. Any questions on this one? No? Okay, if we go on to question 3. So I'm kind of whizzing through these, but because some of them, you know, they are quite self-explanatory, and as I said, I think the bullet points are really helpful. So yeah, I think some of them I haven't even got anything to say because they're so self-explanatory. Oh, thank you. All clear. Thanks. Great. Thank you for that. So question 3, describe the Challenge Fund approach which will be utilised. So I think this is what Gareth was just talking about, really. So what are the different approaches we can use, the mechanisms we can use in order to deliver the challenge? So you've heard about the SBRI, but there are other ways of delivering challenges, and there's innovation partnerships, there's grants, prizes. So this is why you need to engage with the Challenge Fund, and we can look at your specific issue, problem, and what will be the best solution. So I would say before you complete this section, I would speak to one of us in the team first. Gareth, I don't know if you want to add anything in there.
Not really anything else to add, I guess, other than you know, there is different approaches. So you know, do your research on it as well. You know, obviously talk to the team. But if you look at, you know, Innovate UK, I think is a really good example of, they run a lot of SBRI challenges and different approaches, as do Nesta with the Nesta Challenge prizes. So, you know, do a bit of research. You know, some simple Google searches around the problem space that you're interested in. And you know, if you Google SBRI and I don't know, retrofit or decarb or you know, health challenges, UK SBRI or GovTech, you know, if you put some of these things into a Google search, you'll probably find 9 times out of 10 there's similar challenges been run in the past. So, you know, have a look at what's been done, you know, steal some ideas, and, you know, maybe make contact with Innovate UK, with the Welsh Government, SBRI Innovation Accelerator team as well. There's the GovTech Catalyst from UK Gov. There's other examples of stuff that's been done. There's also lots of research, things from Mariana Mazzucato and on sort of challenge-led innovation. So look at what's been done elsewhere, steal ideas. try and use a model that works for what it is you're trying to do. And if you're really struggling, as I say, give us a shout, give me a shout, and we can look at that. The other thing you can look at as well, which Scotland do quite well, is they run a CivTech program where they link through their challenge. They use a kind of SBRI process, but they link in an element of business incubation as well. So we've got the opportunity with the Challenge Fund to be quite creative in how we tackle the challenges. So it's not like we want to say, here's a exact model that you've got to work to religiously. Let's flex what we can do to try and work for the best approach. But I'll stop waffling now, but hopefully that's kind of useful for some of you guys on the call.
Thank you, Gareth. Yeah, I think you explained that better than I could, certainly. So the key thing there is we will try and be flexible, and we will try and find the approach that works for you. So I would say, if you haven't got any experience at all in a sort of SBRI or innovation grants or anything like that, don't worry. As Gareth said, there is information out there. There are other organisations that can help you, and we can help you. But it's finding the best approach for your specific challenge idea. Next question, please, Carla. Okay, opportunity for adoption and scale up of solutions is essential. So details of expected procurement process and potential market opportunity for solution providers. So this, going back to what Cheryl said, this is why it's key to get procurement involved, because they may have some really interesting ideas. So it's key to get them involved at an early stage, really. And as I said, you should detail, the scale of the market opportunity, your organisation's ability to procure the solution. Again, going back to what Cheryl said about existing frameworks, etc. It may be that you can't buy what you want, in which case that's why you need to engage with your procurement teams in order to sort of iron out that at the start, really. And then economic impact, again, Cheryl did touch on that, about how we really want to keep the wealth in the area, to keep it in the Cardiff capital region, and we want local businesses, to apply for these things and get some money out of it, really. Next question, please. Any questions on that one? As I said, please either put your hand up or just put them in the chat, and we'll pick them up. Don't feel, ask anything, even if you think it's a really silly question. It's better to ask and know the answer. Next question, please. So yes, details of the team members who will deliver this challenge, including any potential partners. This is really self-explanatory. So yeah, all team members, what their role is in delivery of the challenge, relevant experience, skills, anything that can sort of add to your bid, really. And that, yeah, if you just notice the note there about collaborative bids, so yeah, we are really encouraging those and organisations to work together, particularly if it's a third sector organisation working with a public sector body. But as we said, there must be a single challenge owner who has responsibility and sort of has the contract, if you like. But yeah, you could include all experience from all parties involved there to strengthen your bid. Next question, please. How you intend to project management and resource the delivery of your challenge. I think it was Gareth that touched on, we do have potentially funding available to support you with capacity in terms of actually delivering your challenge. So particularly if people are in sort of local authorities, and people have day jobs, don't they? So yeah, so that we have got, there is some flexibility there that we can provide some funding to help you deliver it. Any questions on that, actually? No? Okay, shall we go on to question 7, please, Carla? Again, this is fairly self-explanatory. So this is key project milestones and deliverables against each stage. Again, we don't want loads and loads and loads of minor things, but it's sort of key milestones of your challenge, what is going to be delivered, and then the expected date. I think we can be flexible in terms of, if you put the date in and then, slippage happens, doesn't it? So if you put a date in and then it's running a month behind or something, then we can certainly accommodate that. But if you can just be as realistic as possible. And again, just to say that everything, project activity must be finished by the 31st of January 2024, which will no doubt come round in no time at all. Any questions on question 7? No. Okay, so we go on to question 8. Oh, all clear, thanks in the chat. Good. It's good. It's hard when you can't interact with people. You're not sure if you're making sense or not. So yeah, that's good to hear. Okay, so describe the outreach activities you plan to undertake in the running of your challenge. Ali did touch a little on this, how you will promote your challenge to solution providers, what events you attend, any stakeholder engagement activities in terms of commercialising the solution. Again, that's something really that's sort of dependent on what mechanism you use. So once you've sort of decided on whether it is an SBRI route or a different route, then this answer to this question will be informed from that decision. Is there something in the chat? Sorry, I'm on my iPad, so which is why my hand keeps coming up.
Sorry, it was me just thanking Francis.
Yeah, no, it's fine. Sorry, it's that we can't have Zoom on local authority laptops, so I have to use my personal iPad, which is a bit of a pain because I don't have a mouse. Hi, we are listening. Sorry for blank wall, just don't have any questions. Thank you, Tom Ware. That's good to know. Right, should we go on to question 9, please, Carla? Describe how you tend to carry out the review and assessment of applications to your challenge. So again, this is when you go out to the solution providers and they apply. So how are you going to manage that process? Are you going to manage that process, or are you going to maybe sort of contract it out to a third party? So as I said, it may be the SBRI Centre of Excellence are involved, or other, KTN, other different organisations. You may think actually they've got a lot of expertise, so it would make sense for them to receive some funding in order to manage the process for you. But again, that does depend on what funding mechanism you're going to use. So once you've decided that, then some of these questions, as I said, for the last one, will be informed from that. How will you ensure a rigorous and transparent selection process? I think obviously that's key, is to be as open and transparent as possible to ensure, well, for a start, that rules and regulations are hit, but also that businesses, it's accessible to local businesses, and it's a fair playing field for all. Any questions on question 9? No, let's go on to the next one. Oh, thank you, Steve, that's fine. So details of funding requested. As I said, we do fund up to 100% of costs, which is quite unusual for funding pots, really. But if you can source other sources of funding, then that would be really good, and we can certainly report on that there's more funding has been levered in to the Challenge Fund. So it's not essential, but it's certainly nice to have. I think, Gareth, can you just confirm whether we can have in-kind match funding there? So from a challenge owner, can they include staff time? Gareth? Okay, he'll come back. It's okay, he's there. I'm not sure, but I will just, Cheryl?
I would say there's no harm in putting it in. It would be a bonus. Yeah. I think Gareth's having a few connection issues.
He has very dodgy Wi-Fi. So it doesn't hurt putting it in. I think, because it's all about the maximum. We can show the maximum amount of funding there. Question 11. Can you just move up a bit, Carla? So this is finances. Details of all costs to be incurred in the running of your challenge, and explain how these costs will be met. So you need to include a full breakdown, which includes management and support, which is running the challenge, and then so funding to be allocated to suppliers. So there's sort of 2 elements to that, really. So the costs must be accurate and realistic, and not just sort of plucked out of the air because you're not entirely sure. So as far as possible, if you can make sure that you've researched what your costs will be. Any questions on finances? Okay, question number 12. So this is details of identified risks which may impact the delivery of the challenges and mitigating actions. So basically this is 500 words, so we're certainly not asking for a full risk register here. So don't worry, you don't need to do like a massive risk register on a spreadsheet, but we are asking you to identify the key risks and also to be really honest about these, because you know it can come back to haunt you at a later date. So certainly the main sort of, so say you've got, I don't know, between 5 and 10 risks that you've identified at varying levels of impact, and then if you can sort of put a mitigating action or actions as to how you're going to mitigate these individual risks. Any questions about risk? Just to say as well, I mean, I don't think this is essential, but it is best practice to have a risk register anyway for these types of things, even if it's not a mandatory part of the funding, because it certainly makes you aware of them and means you can keep reviewing them on a continuous basis, because obviously we want these challenges to succeed and not fail. I think that's it then. And obviously, yes, I did mention briefly about signatures at the start. So as I said, don't leave it to the last minute, particularly if someone's very senior in your organisation. We do accept electronic scan signatures or a supporting email if you can't get a signature. Any question? Oh, hang on, there's something in the chat. Steve, just appreciate the scale of what needs to be done. Yes, it's quite a lot of work, Steve. But as I said, we are here to support you. So, you know, if you're stuck on anything following this and you've decided you are going to proceed with an application, but if you're not entirely sure about a question or there's anything I haven't covered, then please just drop us an email and we will try and help you if we can. Are there any questions or comments, or just general comments about anything we've covered today, really?
Everyone's very quiet, which is a bit worrying.
It's unfortunately applications writing is a very dry subject. It's not particularly interesting where you can have like a really interesting discussion, because it is what it is. So sorry if it has been a little bit dry and perhaps boring.
Steve's got his hand up, Liz.
Yeah, sorry. As I said, I'm on my iPad and the chat was in the way. Steve?
I think it's just sort of clarified the realistic sort of circumstances that I find myself in this year, with probably 16 hours a week to dedicate to this on top of, you know, well, in addition to everything else I do. So I've got to be realistic. I don't have the buy-in in my organization at the moment, and I don't have a team around me. So I think I've got to look at this over a longer lead-in period than October 2021.
We will have what's your organisation, Steve? Sorry.
Newport City Council.
Right, okay. So we will be having other funding rounds, and we do envisage that the Challenge Fund will be going on post 2024, but we don't have the funding secured for that. So it may be in a couple of years' time you're in a better position as an organisation to do something.
Yeah, I can populate the application form quite convincingly, but when it comes to the logistics and buy-in and who does what, there's just nothing to hang it on.
Yeah, well, as I said, we do have, you know, we can fund sort of project delivery costs as well. So if that is an issue in terms of resource, we can have a chat with you about
work out what the costs are at the moment.
Yeah, I sympathise.
I don't have anybody to help me work out the costs of is chicken and egg, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's kind of tricky. But I'll have a deep and meaningful conversation with our procurement manager this afternoon and see what level of interest exists. So
great, thank you.
Cheers.
Francis, I can see you've got your hand up as well.
Oh, thanks, Cheryl. Just, is it possible to send out the stuff in a format that I can forward on to other people sort of want attachments of PDFs to potential partners who might be working with us on stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I should have mentioned as well, there's also quite comprehensive guidance notes to go alongside the application form, which will give more information. Again, we don't want to snow everyone with information, but they are quite useful. So we can forward those to you after the workshop.
Yeah, thanks.
There's also a question in the chat, Liz, from Roger.
Sorry, it doesn't come up automatically.
No, that's fine. It's talking about who are out of the traps in terms of public sector service providers. Speaking on behalf of a potential solutions provider, also keen to have some insight into the Transforming Communities theme area, aware that the workshop is now due to take place in September.
Shall I answer that, Cheryl? Or
would you mind?
No. So in terms of who's out of the traps, we've only actually, sorry, who was it that asked that?
That's Roger from
Roger. So hi, Roger. Sorry. Yeah. So in terms of who's out of the traps, we've only actually funded one challenge so far, which is actually a health board one from Cardiff and Vale Health Board, and that is it was fast tracked. We have a if there's anything related to COVID or the pandemic, we can fast track applications. So this one was related to tracheostomy training, which was basically when you have to put tubes in people, and they were having an issue with not being able to deliver training in person because of the pandemic, because of social distancing. So that's, I think currently they've appointed for 3 or 4 companies looking at potential solutions. So looking at like immersive reality, virtual reality. It's very high tech, so sort of putting headsets on and training people, clinicians, how to do it that way. So that's quite an interesting one, and that kind of shows the breadth of things we can do under the Challenge Fund. It is there's a lot of scope. So then currently we've had a few which have gone, they're going to be resubmitted in October. So one of those is to do with food security and sort of high-tech urban agriculture, and that's Cardiff Council and Monmouthshire Council. I can't remember the other 2, Cheryl, can you?
So one of them is Bridgend Council, looking at decarbonising, yes, private housing stock.
Yes. Yeah. I think that was it. Yeah, but also, so we are talking to a lot of different organisations, Roger, currently about various different things. So, and we've also linked up some organisations who had sort of quite similar problems, and we said we'll go and talk to each other and see if you can actually work together on a challenge application. So, as I said, in terms of funding, we've only actually funded one so far, which was the Cardiff and Vale one. Does that answer your question?
Yes, Liz. Yes, sorry. Yes, sorry for the silence, but I have been listening intently.
I think we're all roasting, so yeah, I've had to shut my window, so which is why my face is so red, because of the noise from outside. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know, Roger, you've submitted an expression of interest already, so we're still working through those. We've had quite a few, and just trying to link up people. So if there's anything more you wanted to add to that, then we can potentially look at that in a bit more detail and try and link you up with other people. Because if you've got a public sector sponsor working with you, that would be acceptable as well. But as Liz said, the contract would have to go through that public body that it's to do with state aid and procurement rules and that sort of thing. Sure, understood. And we have some contacts with the local council for sure, and interestingly in procurement. So yeah. Thank you. Thanks.
Thanks.
Are there any other questions? I know we're all losing the will now, because I know I'm wilting, sat in front of the fan.
I want a cold drink.
No, it looks as though everyone's okay. If we share the can't even speak now, sorry. If we share the contact details with you, so you can all get in touch with us, And if you haven't already put in an expression of interest, that would be a really good thing to do if you're keen to progress with your idea. And as we've said all along, just contact the delivery team. That would be really useful. Sorry, Roger, you've got your hand up again.
Yeah, sorry, just one more on that transforming communities theme area. That workshop's due to take place in September now. Yeah, just to confirm that.
Yes, we're just trying to finalise a date when speakers are available.
Oh, right. Okay. Okay.
Unfortunately, the summer holidays are now here, so it's quite difficult to arrange things.
Right. I don't know whether there's any insight into that at the moment, sort of without wishing to preempt or prejudge the actual workshop itself. Any new information to light? Sorry,
Roger, I was going to say we're open to suggestions, really. We were thinking, we were hoping to have the Future Generations Officer speak, someone from Welsh Government, but then also some people that have actually addressed some issues in their communities. So we're conscious some of it can be quite high level and quite alienating for people. And actually what we'd like to give people is examples of really good solutions that people have come up with and make it a bit, bring it to life a bit, because it's a bit dry at the moment.
Yes. Okay.
So
thank
if
you.
you've got any suggestions, please, you know, we'd welcome them.
Thank you.
Francis, did you have another question? I saw your hand go up there. Nice to see you again, by the way. So is that everything from everyone? I've got a couple of notes that I scribbled down just throughout the talks. So, I mean, really the big thing is, Ali mentioned it in her talk, was around what we're looking for is people that are really passionate about these challenges and they're really engaged in it and they're really motivated to make a difference. So Steve's point is really valid. You know, if you're one person on your own trying to make a difference, then it's going to be really difficult. And we recognise that everybody's burnt out. You know, we're still in a pandemic. It's really difficult. Everyone's short-staffed, and we're sort of, the timing is not great on this. But on the other hand, the timing is really, really good for it, because the problems that we've had with societal challenges and service delivery issues have been sort of amplified because of the pandemic. So actually it is the right time. It's just really difficult for people to get these things off the ground. The other thing around the bid writing, as someone who's assessed bids, and Liz will say the same, is it's really important to give people an interesting story. So you want that narrative to run through the bid to keep you engaged, because it's quite difficult. I mean, we're not looking for chapter and verse on these applications. We're looking for detail, but not reams and reams of detail. But it can be quite difficult to stay engaged with some applications unless they really grab your attention and they really excite you and think this has got huge potential to make a difference. The other thing is around keeping it interesting, doing some research beforehand so that you're not putting in a half done application. And we can help you with, you know, we can be a critical friend as you go along if you need one. We are a small team, but I'll put my hand up for that one. I'm quite good at challenging people. So yeah, you know, do your research, and actually, if you're not sure about information, with the contacts that we have and the network we have, we can probably point you at someone that will be able to help. So yeah, that would be my summing up really, and ultimately it needs to be credible. So it needs to be a project that, as Liz said in her section, you know, don't just put lots of facts and figures down, base it on evidence, make sure you've got the right team on board. Because what you don't want is to be successful and then fail at delivery. So we fully expect the R&D part of it to try new things and maybe fail along the way and try something different. And that's part of this programme, is we don't expect everything to work perfectly. We expect a certain amount of failure along the way, but ultimately we want everyone to be successful at the end. So hopefully that makes sense. So I don't know if anybody else has got any insights they wanted to share. I'm just conscious that we can finish early and go and get a cold drink. Anything else from you, Liz?
No, just to say thank you for attending, really. And as I said, I do appreciate it is quite a dry subject. And also it's quite hard to pitch because several of you may have lots of experience of bid writing, but there could be a few who've got no experience at all, which is why we did pitch it very sort of basic, really. So kind of apologies for that, but also not really, because I think it doesn't hurt that we all revisit the basics.
Yeah, so thank you very much for attending, and we'll circulate information after the workshop. I say we, it'll be Carla, it's the royal we, and also edit the recording and then put it onto our YouTube channel. So yeah, we can send you links to that as well in case you wanted to go over anything. And we can send out the documents as well, so you've got more information. So that's great, thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks, everybody.
In the fridge.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah, thank you all.